they can be shitty people and be successful in business, why can't I be a good person and be successful in business?
So what kind of struggles are you facing?
Getting past the idea of disappointing my parents. I dropped out of school in 2022, in February 2022. I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it this time. And I told my mom and I figured it out and never looked back since.
Welcome back to another episode of the Intrepidus Podcast, episode 11 with your hosts, Dan and Anthony. Today we have a special guest on, the man, the myth, the legend, the man who makes this all possible, Tyler from MediaScher.
Yes, sir.
Nice to have you on, Tyler.
Thanks for having me,
Pleasure
guys.
to finally step in front of the camera instead of hiding behind it.
Yeah. But
What's
try to do it
going
more
on?
often, actually.
Tell us a little bit about what you do now that they know you produce podcasts.
Yeah, so I mean, we do podcasts. It's definitely an avenue we've branched into. But we're a media and marketing company. I would like to say we're more of a marketing company now, as I think when people from the beginning associated me with media, it was like, Tyler, you're the video guy, the photo guy. We do a lot more than that now. So used to just be photo and video content. Now it's social media management, advertising, marketing. Pride ourselves on really helping other people and other businesses take their brand to the next level through, the traditional ways that work nowadays and your digital presence.
Yeah, I mean, the reason that we were so interested in getting you on here to produce this pod was because of your videos, because they are so pristine, they are so precise. So really appreciate you doing that there. And I think you produce a very fine-tuned product that a lot of people would be interested in. Yeah, tell us a little bit about the media side of things.
In what regard?
Social media. It's one of the things that you're interested in, one avenue that you work with some of your clients with?
Absolutely. I mean, social media nowadays is like everybody's on it, right? You can't escape without being somewhat around social media. So, I mean, really getting into the business, social media for me was a way of taking the content or the art that I was producing and finding a way to share it. And I only got into, and the company has only gone in this direction of now helping other businesses with their social media, because in the very beginning, I was just producing content and saying, here, do what you'd like with it. And now I realize over, it was coming in that year of like 2019, 2020, that businesses needed help with the content they were actually making to put it out there properly. Otherwise, you're paying for a piece of video content and who knows what the fuck it's doing. You're just posting it up and hoping it does well. Mm-hmm. So you need to have a little bit of some structure as to how you're going to get it out there, and we help businesses with that now as well.
So tell me a little bit about Tyler. You're 26 years old. How did you get into this space? Growing up, did you think that this is where you would be? What did you want to do? And how did you become the person in the business that you are today?
I would say I had a lot of interests growing up young. I wanted to be a WWE wrestler at one point. When I was really jumping off my bed, doing wrestling moves, telling my mom to come wrestle with me. Yeah, I mean, I realistically, I was always big into art. I used to draw all the time. I was a big Disney fan growing up, or like Nickelodeon cartoons. So I used to watch all of those shows and movies, and I would pull up my pen and paper and I'd take a picture and place it right next to it, and I would just copy what it looked like, and I would make like a replica, and not tracing it, I would just be able to do it from looking at it. And so drawing was a big thing for me, and eventually drawing by hand always had me interested in art. It was always like art class was my favorite growing up. And that transitioned into like a love for anything creative or anything fun or artistic. And I got big into video games when I was young, and video games are a big part of my life. And then eventually, as I got a little older and matured, I would say I was probably more like 16, 17, 18, I realized that video games were just sucking so much time out of my life. And you can achieve things in video games, and you think that's an achievement. You're like, yeah, I achieved something in a video game. I did this thing, or I completed this goal, or I won this battle. And then I was like, but it's not real. Like, I need to get out of this make-believe world of achieving things on a video game and do it in real life. And so, the first career I wanted to do, honestly, was a video game developer. I wanted to design video games, and I was taking a graphic design class in high school in my sophomore year, and we did like modeling, like character modeling, and I was like, this is terrible, and I hate this, and I'm going to sit behind a desk my whole life. And then I would say junior, senior year, even a little bit of sophomore year, I did video editing because I was so into video games. I used to video edit things for video games, and my parents bumped into a DJ once who said he was in need of video editing for his weddings. And so I got paid like $100 to make a wedding highlight video. And I would do those things on the side, or my friend would ask me to edit something on the side because I got really good with these editing programs. And then eventually I did some freelance work for a few companies and just some different businesses. And I wasn't really making any real fucking money. I would make like $100 a job here, $100 a job there. I was fortunate enough where I was living at home still. I was young. I was 16, 17, 18, like I said, still in high school. I didn't necessarily need a full-time job. I mean, I worked at Wawa for a little bit.
Making subs?
Making some subs and I didn't pump gas. I made coffee and subs and sandwiches and did the cash register. They make you freezing.
Hey, the hazelnut's empty.
Yep, exactly.
I can see
the
with
pumpkin
the little
spice
net.
was fucking real popular. So yeah, I did that for a little while, and then eventually did some freelance work for a company that did some similar stuff to what I'm doing now, and had a good experience kind of learning what kind of stuff you could do out there in this industry and what possibilities there were. And I was strictly an editor, and that was it. And I realized that I had a lot more editing skill than a lot of people, even older than me. And so I also engaged in business with, some people that I felt like were running a shady business and didn't really value the people they were working with. And so truthfully, I say it for what it is I kind of was like, if they can be shitty people and be successful in business, why can't I be a good person and be successful in business? And I was like, you know what? I know how to fucking edit, but let me go buy a camera and learn how to film and edit. And because I'm so good at editing, even if my filming is okay, I'll make up for it and figure it out. And MediaScher was born from that. I walked into a restaurant for dinner. I was taking my parents for a birthday dinner, and it's literally the story how I tell it all the time is I went to dinner with my parents and an ex-girlfriend at the time. We went to dinner, and we had an incredible experience. And I looked at the chef afterwards and said, I had such a great time here. I'd love to come shoot a video, guys, for free. I do businesses for local restaurants, and I hadn't done a fucking video for anybody. I just bought my camera equipment a week ago, took a loan from my grandfather for $3,000 and the $1,000 I had left over from my graduation money in high school, and did a free video for them, turned into another free video for them, did a free video for some other restaurant I reached out to, and then eventually it turned into some paid work, and things started to snowball slowly because I wasn't really still full-time. I was still partially in school.
It's about 8 years in business?
Yeah, 6 years.
6 years?
6 years. 6 years of MediaScher, yeah.
Got it. Okay. Go ahead.
No, I was just curious how long, because there's an expense to learning, right? There's an expense to or a cost to learn or acquire a new skill. And you said in the beginning, well, I did it for free.
Yeah.
And time is obviously expensive. It's the only commodity we can't get back. So how long did you have to do these videos for free, these media shares for free, before you were like, okay, now it's time for me to charge?
Yeah. So I had no idea what to charge. But what I did know was that I knew I had something valuable to offer businesses. But being that I had no portfolio or nothing to show yet, I had to provide these businesses and these people value up front. So sweat equity. I mean, put in my time and spent my time offering a free service, hoping that it would bring me a new connection or potentially turn into paid work. And I always had I had a good amount of business acumen then. I mean, a ton more now than I did that back then, but I had a little bit enough where I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit. I was fucking from the age of like 5 to 8 years old. I used to work at the flea market with my dad and be selling things to people, a 2 for $5, 3 for 1 for 3. Like that's what I did. And so I was used to having like a sales conversation or like sales approach, but I still wasn't great at it. And I learned that over time. So that free work more so, those first 2 free jobs I did, I made a video for a company completely free. And after I made that free video and they posted it up and shared it with everybody on their social media, I strategically went to their social media followers and looked at the restaurants who were following them that more than likely saw my video. Better yet, I looked at the restaurants that liked the video that they posted on their page that followed them. And I sent all of them DMs and said, hey, I didn't say anything about free, didn't say anything about paid. I said, hey, I would love to shoot a video for you guys. We did some work with this company. What do you think? And they were like, yeah, sure. How much do you charge? And when they said that, honestly, I was like, I don't know what I charge. So I was like, I'll do it for free this first time. And so the first time I went out, I did a video for free and they loved it. And I made sure to go and have these interactions in person so that I wasn't kind of getting like thrown in the back burner. So when the video was finished, I came there. I said, let's meet in person because I want to show you the video. I showed them the video. This was my second official client. And they were like, okay, well, how much do you these are great. Like, we want to do some more. How much do you charge? And I was like, oh, well, let me get back to you. I want to figure out what we're looking to do. Like, can you tell me more about it? What it is that you want to film? And long story short, I did a video for this pizza restaurant. They're called Lombardi Pizza Co., the best Neapolitan pizza in New Jersey, honestly, in my opinion. So shout out to them. And we did 3 video shoots for them, and I think I charged like $200 a video. It was like a $600 project. Now, I couldn't imagine doing a $200 video because the time and the effort that went into making those videos back then, I would have charged, a couple $1,000s. So, but that's what I had to do. I had to get some business that way. And it was a slow burn, honestly, in those first couple of years, because like I said, I was part-time in school and part-time doing the business.
So 6 years in business. You've obviously struggled to get where you are because it's not easy, especially the first 5, right? So maybe talk about some of those struggles, or, if you had one major struggle, and also who was your biggest supporter?
Okay. So I also feel like it's 6 years in business, but I really like to say it's only been a full 2, because I was part-time between school and work. And I only went full-time in this in 2022 when I told my mom I was going to drop out and make it a full-time thing. Got it. And so I really like to say we're like 2.5 years full-time in business. And I've seen all that growth in the 2.5 years, like exponentially. So when it comes to like challenges and struggles, I think first it was getting past the idea of disappointing my parents. That's like more on a personal level, I'd say it was a struggle. My biggest supporter is definitely my mom. I have 2 moms, and they're happily married in a relationship. And my birth mom is like, I don't even like to call her my birth mom. I just call her mom. My second mom's name is Renee, so I'm just gonna refer to them that way. My mom is like, do what you want to do. I'm here to support you, but like, you have to pay rent unless you're in school. So if you're in school, you don't have to pay rent. But if you're not in school, you have to start paying rent. And I said, okay, well, that kept me in school for too long because I'm cheap and I didn't want to spend any money. It was $200 a month is all they wanted me to pay them, but I still just didn't want to spend it.
I'll live there.
So, I was like, whatever, I'll do school. I'll half-ass it and figure it out. And school was never an issue for me. I was one of those people that didn't have to study, and I would get straight A's or B's, and I just have a good memory. So my second mom, though, is more of a realist. She's more like, let me see you make something happen, and then we'll talk. Right. So I could tell her like, if I do this and I could grow the business and I can make $10,000 or whatever it is, she'd be like, well, you're not doing it. And you're not like those people that do that, they're the anomaly. You haven't done that. So like, that doesn't always happen for everybody. My response was like, but like, no, I can make it happen. I am the anomaly. Like I had to fight for that to get that to be a thing. And she still was like, well, we'll see when it happens. And so one of those struggles was definitely disappointing them in the sense that like I always knew that there was more that I could do, but I wanted to save money and maybe there's a little bit of self-doubt. And so I didn't take that leap until I had a decent month in business in that like winter break I dropped out of school in 2022 in February 2022. So between mid-December to January, I was on winter break. I didn't have anything going on. And in that January of 2022, I had like what I would consider my best month in business at the time. I made like $6,000 in a month. And I felt like I was getting momentum and I was like, I don't want to lose this momentum. And I feel like every year I lose it because I go back to school or something happens. And I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it this time. And I told my mom and I figured it out and never looked back since. So I think that was a struggle. But I definitely have different struggles now than I did, very different struggles now than I did back then. But in the beginning, that was a big struggle.
Because you're scaling up now. So what kind of struggles are you facing now?
People, right? I always thought the biggest thing was going to be getting business. It's not. Getting business, you figure out when you build relationships and you build relationships right and you treat people well and you provide a good quality product and service, you don't have an issue typically getting business. You have to figure out how you can comfortably and reliably scale and be able to take on the business. There's only one me and there's only one personality behind it. And a lot of people that I've worked with have made it clear that they like working with me because of my personality and what I bring to the table and who I am, right? I can't replicate that. I could teach a skill, sure, but I can't teach people to have character, right? And so that was a big thing. And now as I've grown and I've brought in new business and I brought in new clientele and I've been a little pickier with that clientele because we have to be a good fit for them the same way they have to be a good fit for us. It's been about getting the right people to join the team and getting the right people to work with and managing, a team and managing clients' expectations and managing, the occasional person that has a concern or an issue or a complaint. Managing people is definitely the hardest part of running any business. And it's definitely something that I didn't expect to be a challenge because I always thought it was going to be like, how do I get the new client? How do I make more money? How do I bring in new business? It's it's managing the relationships for sure. And I take a lot of pride in that because truly in any business, like your relationships are everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of variables, right? It's like finding a product, selling the product, finding business. It's all very linear. Like there's several different avenues, but handling somebody's personality could differ, night and day. How you have to approach them, the tact that you have to speak with them. So when it comes to that and finding people that fit your character and traits that are required of a business, the company culture, if you will, what kind of targeted questions do you ask? And, how do you identify your next employee?
I think one of the things I like to do is people talk with communication. So I have a list of questions that I ask, and truthfully, it's like the last thing on my brain of what these lists of questions are because I kind of I focus on those when I'm like going through an interview process. But truthfully, it's like questions about how people would maybe handle a certain situation. How do you handle a client when they have a complaint? Is it to, hit them back with a bunch of feedback and say, this is what we did, this is how we did it, and, you should have liked it X, Y, and Z? Or is it to ask questions? I think the biggest thing that I instill in my own life and in my team's life and in anybody I work with is like, not everything always needs to be a debate or an argument or, who's right or who's wrong. And you might have done everything right and the client still has a complaint, right? So there's something missing that we don't understand yet or that the client doesn't understand that we haven't clarified for them, right? So in that sense, it's be curious. Always be curious. I could say it in your personal relationships and your business relationships, be curious and ask questions. Because if a client comes to me and says, I don't like this video, my response is, well, what do you not like about the video? And they say, I just think it's too fast paced. Okay, is the whole thing fast paced? Is part of it fast paced? And then they'll say, well, it was just this specific part. Great, we make an edit to that part and they go, this video's perfect now. Or, I don't like this video. Why not? The music choice is just not, fast paced enough or it's not upbeat enough. It feels really dark and gloomy. All right, so if we change the music, is this gonna be good? Oh no, well, there's a couple other things, right? So asking questions and being curious with anything and everything in your life can allow you to be more of a listener and respond better rather than immediately firing back with, well, I know what's best and I know how this works and this is why I did it this way. And I think as artists too, because in a lot of ways I'm an artist, I'm a creative. As artists, I think we take a lot of pride in the product we produce, but I'll always say too that in a lot of ways the client is usually always right because I've done videos for clients that I thought were great when I first put them out and then they asked for a couple tweaks and by the time it was finally done, I was like, I'm actually happier with this product versus what I put out originally.
What makes you different? If I were, let's say, we know what makes you different because we actually interviewed a few people. We went through 3 people and we decided to work with you. But for people out there, what makes your company and you different? Like, why would someone want to hire you versus the other guy?
I think the honest answer is just a simple one word, and I think it's just integrity. I think I take outside of our skill and our craft and how much attention to detail we put into the quality of our product, I think that I lead with integrity from the client's gonna have a good experience face to face with me, and anything that happens in the back end, they can be confident that's gonna get taken care of properly as well. And I'm a lot more relationship driven than transactional driven. So a lot of people go into a business meeting or a conversation or pitch, and it's how can I make the most money now or how can I make the money here up front, rather than I'm okay with looking at a client and saying, listen, I would love to work with you, but I think with where you're at right now, we're not a good fit. So here's my recommendations. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach back out, right? And I've built a lot of relationships and gotten business from people that I never even did work with. I can't tell you how many times I've had a client reach out to me and say, hey, I would love you to film this for me. And their budget's completely out of what it would cost for us to do something, or what they're looking for we can't provide. And I'll say, listen, I just don't think it's a good fit, but I'm here if you need any advice or questions. And, a month or 2 later, they refer me to somebody else that ends up closing a deal with me because I was just honest and upfront with them. Right. I'm very relationship driven. I'm in it for the long-term relationship rather than to make my money up front.
Yeah, he spent about a year with us. A lot of questions,
Talk
a
about
lot
the
of
long
answers,
play.
right? A whole year not getting paid, helped us design a studio, build a studio, and literally like text and call and everything, meeting us on site, everything that we could do just with the hope, that, hey, hope these guys use me, right? But at the end of the day, I think we took on to it and we had a conversation and, we knew whatever it took, we're going to have to use you for your knowledge, to get where we needed to be, but at the same time, we wanted you to be a part of it.
Absolutely. I appreciate that.
And well, that brings me to something you said before. You said customers still like to work with you and they still request you. I from experience, I have the same exact situation where my director of business development had said to me, "Why are you answering customer calls? Why are they asking for you directly?" Well, they're lifetime customers.
Yeah.
People from 8 years ago that I dealt with. And he said, "Well, we need to stop that." I said, "Well, okay, fine. You're the new boss of that, I suppose. But, how do you deal with customers who strictly want to use you when now you have a staff? How do you get over that objection and pass it on to the next person and trust that's going to get done correctly?"
That's a great question, because that's something that like right now actively I'm working on figuring that process. And I can use you guys for a great example, right? I know on a daily basis and what it looks like for me to go out and do a video shoot for a client and how much my time is worth specifically for me. Now, obviously I have a team and people I can delegate to tasks, and that's great. But in a lot of situations, I know that I can get the job done most efficiently. And some people may want my specific feedback and request for that job, to begin with. So finding the balance of being, able to understand that I need to be in one place and take care of something for a client, and I need to be that person there, while also valuing the fact that, my time is worth something. I've gotten a lot more strict with my time in the sense, and I'm less afraid to ask for what I feel is fair compensation for little things, like even just, if someone needs me to come by and help them with something, and it's to come by their restaurant or their business and give them advice, every once in a while I'm there and I'll happily do it. I'm paying it forward in the beginning to build that relationship, but every once in a while too, some client might need a little extra help and they need me to be there for 2 hours just to teach them something that, typically I would charge for. So, in a lot of ways I make the expectations up front with the client and, hey, I'm happy to help you. And I kind of say these things to set expectations in the beginning of like, hey, I'm going to come by this one time and I'm happy to help you. Next time we'll have a conversation if we need to about, what it looks like for like consultation hours or something to that extent. Something I'm still learning, because I want to be accessible to everybody, but I know that to scale, if everyone's expectation is to always get me and me, and that's the only person they're going to want, when they do get someone else, they're going to be like, it's not the same. Tyler's not here. Right.
I think that's a mental thing that we put on ourselves. And I learned this a long, long time ago. Your company is made up of everybody, right? Mm-hmm. So if people are hiring your company, I think mentally you feel that they want me, they want to talk to me. But when you set the expectation of, hey, here's where we are right now, and I hired so-and-so to do business development, I hired so-and-so to be my office manager, I hired so-and-so to do this, and anything you need, they're going to be a lot easier to access, and they're going to be able to give you direct information. And I find it too in my business that everyone wants to talk to me. I'm like, I don't want to talk to them. Like, it's not my job. I hire you to do this. I hire you to do this. I hire you to do this. Like, why do they need to talk to me? The only reason why they need to talk to me is because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you're not handling what you're supposed to handle. But I think a lot of it's mental. And I remember, like, when I was 26, I talked to my mentor. I said, how do I go to the next level? He goes, you need to let go of control. I was like, I don't understand what you mean. He goes, you're out there selling, you're out there working, you're out there doing the paperwork, you're out there doing the calls, you're out there doing everything. And there's only one of you.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think the biggest problem in business is how many times have you said it, I said it, we all said it, oh man, if I could have just one more of me.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, I say that all the time.
And that's the problem, is that we don't realize how good people really are, and we don't give them the credit sometimes that they can actually be better than us.
Yeah.
I want to hire people who are better than me.
I agree.
That Absolutely. Way, hey, listen, I suck, but you're really good, and that's why I pay you to do that.
I mean, that's the only way to scale as a business owner. You have to be willing, and I think it's an ego thing for a lot of business owners. You have to be willing to put your ego to the side and say, people are better at certain things than I am, and you should play people to their strengths and allow them to do the job that they're going to be better at than you are, because otherwise you're going to spend 3 times as much time doing it. You're going to have 2 times as much headaches, and you're going to make less money because of how much time you're spending on it rather than them doing it. Right. Yeah. So I think in a lot of ways, that is something that I've gotten a lot better at in the last year. And I'm still learning for sure. I think the biggest challenge for me has been I have a lot of active clientele that work with us on a consistent, like, monthly basis. So getting these clients with me that I've built great relationships with over for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4, 5 years, getting them to now buy into this new process and staff and people that I have when they're so used to working with me. The new clientele that comes in, it's easy. I get them integrated in that system where they're not expecting to have me at the forefront all the time. But the clients that have been with me for so long, they want Tyler, right? That's what they expect. So now I'm building out this process and this system where at least that is, I can baby step them into that and realize that they're getting the job done better by following a process with certain people delegated to certain tasks. And I'm going to be there to oversee it all, but it's still going to get done the right way.
Right. Yeah. As entrepreneurs, we just unfortunately have a me complex, right? If I don't do it, it's not going to get done, right? And you actually just said it. The thing that resonated for me and changed everything for me was actually having department experts and referring to them. As soon as I got done with whatever I had to do, hey, why don't you talk to my director of operations who knows a lot more about this, or my communications expert who, it has to do with this on a daily basis, specifically knows about your system. Mm-hmm. And that was a game changer for me, and you just hit it on the head.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it.
Well done for having that foresight. So what, we went through all the successes, more or less, and what exactly keeps you up at night? What do you fear in business or in your life on a daily basis that, you lay in bed, you're staring at the stars that you have on your ceiling? I know you have stars on your ceiling. I'm like one of those guys. What are your thoughts like?
In his car.
Yeah, you think so? I don't got the rolls yet. We'll see. That's a good question. I think for a long time I think this is something I got over very recently. So there's a different answer now, but I want to go kind of what I just recently overcame, which was that everything's gonna be lost in a blink of an eye, right? I very transparently in that year of 2022, prior to 2022, the most money I ever made in a year doing MediaScher that we ever made was $30,000. And in that year of 2022, when I went full time, it was a 6-figure company, right? And then I doubled revenue the following year, and now this year I'm not going to double. I wish I was, right? But the goal was to, but I learned a lot of things this year about, managing people and relationships and employees and clients. And I've really refined the system. And I think for me, going into the last year and even going into this year, the big part of it was that it only been 2 years that I saw what I consider to be a lot of real money. And so now that I have a lot of real money, or what I considered a lot of money, at the time, whether that was $10,000 a month or 20, whatever it was, when I saw that come in 2022 and then in 2023, I was able to sustain it. I was fearful that, 1 or 2 clients losing would be a huge hit and I wouldn't be able to sustain it. And so I was afraid to spend the money that was necessary, because when you give someone who's never made $10,000 a month or $100,000 or whatever number you consider large, people watching this might think $1,000 a month is large, or 10 or 20, 100,000 to them might be a large amount. Some people think that's small, right? So you have a different perspective when you see there's levels of things. So for me, it was being able to quickly grasp that $10,000 or $20,000 wasn't a lot of money. And when I was able to grasp it wasn't a lot of money, I was less afraid of losing it, because if only for a year or two I just started making that money, the fear was it was going to disappear now that I started making it. So I was afraid to spend it. And so this year was the first time where I spent 80% of what we made this year on investing into the business and employees and better systems and more equipment and an office and a bunch of other things. So that was a big struggle for me that I finally got over the hump of realizing that, you have to spend money to make money. And what I thought was a lot of money back then, it still may be a lot of money, but I can't be afraid of losing it or I'm not going to make any more.
So the reality is that you've done it already once. So if you lose it all tomorrow, you're going to be able to do it again.
Exactly.
But 10 times faster.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So like I'm in a situation right now where I'm trying to make some moves in my life, and, there's like an empty hole that I have to fill, but I'll be able to fill that hole 20, 30 times faster than I ever did before because of all the stuff I've learned over the years and the direction I need to go. But you said you wish that this year you doubled in revenue. Again, I could tell you maybe not dollar-wise you probably haven't, but business-wise you haven't. I'll tell you why. You've bought time back because you've got people working with you now and for you. You have systems in place. You've got consistent revenue coming in. So it might not look like, okay, let's say Tyler made $150,000 last year. Maybe you're not making $300,000 this year, but you're working a lot less, making more. So your time is more valuable today. So that's something that a lot of people don't look at. They look at the paper number, but they don't realize that time is your biggest asset. Mm-hmm. And when you can buy things back by producing more with less of you, that's the biggest thing in the world, because you freed up yourself. You've traveled. You've done things that most people at your age can't do.
We went to fucking Japan this year. Started off my year going to Japan and got paid to do it. I was flabbergasted, honestly.
So just look at that opportunity and what you experienced.
Yeah.
You know, and people that are double your age, triple your age, never have opportunities like that.
Yeah.
You know?
And to answer the question too of like, what am I struggling with now? Because that was something I've very recently overcame. Now it's living up to the standard I've set for myself of integrity, of that same quality service being provided to client, and also always doing right by people. I want everyone, and it's big too, because I think also something I had to overcome is like, a lot of people always want to be liked. They get into business because they want to be liked. And in the beginning, I think I wanted to be so liked that's why I wanted to lead with integrity for so much, but also it's just who I am. And now less, I don't give a fuck if someone likes me. I mean, I know I'm a good person and I believe that, and I know I provide a good product and I believe that. So for me, it's more of, I'm going to always do my best to do right by people, but some people are just a lost cause and you can't save everybody, right? Some people, are always going to have a bad thing to say because they got other shit going on in their life, right? So I try not to judge everybody, but I also realize that some things, intention doesn't always align with, actions. And my intention is always to be leading with integrity, but sometimes the actions I take or the way it might affect other people is not aligned with what my intentions were. And so you find yourself in relationships and in business trying to smooth those things out and keep your relationship strong.
So I was going to lead into a question. You kind of touched on it a little bit. So being in business for 2 years, 4 years, however you want to calculate it, how is that one customer who you literally jumped every bridge and did everything for them and they still weren't happy? How did you deal with that? Because I know you have one. We all do.
Yeah, I've had a couple. I had one recently, and you know what? I don't think in any way, shape, or form we were perfect. I think there was definitely things that we could have done better, and those are the things that I've looked inwards and said, I got to reflect on our system and see where things slip through the cracks and how we can refine it. And now I feel really confident that we're definitely in a better place where we have those things refined. But how did I handle that? It beat me up for a little while because I was like, I did everything in my power. It's almost like, business relationships, you could like compare to your personal relationships. It's like, oh my God, I did everything right. I said all the right things, but it still didn't work out because they perceived it one way or they didn't see the results they wanted or something happened. So sometimes you have to realize that you gave it your all and you can't always do everything you need to make other people happy. I could have done and said anything correct or right, and it still wouldn't have made a difference because, like I said, some people just, they're going to be upset whether you do everything right or not. And then you have to realize as a business owner, I'm trying so hard to make this work and I'm spending so much time on this client. That time is so much better spent elsewhere with people that are going to appreciate it and value it and pay the same amount, if not more money, and value the relationship more than the person you're currently having that issue with.
Yeah, I don't disagree. That's why I want to get out of my industry. It's like, I have great customers. I've had great customers over 25 years, but like, the legal system and the legalities of business these days are so fucked up. Like in our industry, the customer always has the upper hand. And no matter what, if someone doesn't like one fucking thing, it's like, oh, listen, I don't have to pay this guy and he's got to pay me back 3 times as much. And there's no fun in it anymore. Yeah. I swear, like the way that the legal system is ran and the way that the government runs fucking people's business, it's like we become puppets to society, and you got to find something that you absolutely love. But then there's times where things change. Like 25 years I've been doing this, and things are changing. And I just can't wait to get out of it because it's like, it's not fun anymore. It's not exciting anymore because people know that one person, that 2 people, they could jerk you off all day long and you're never going to get anywhere. Mm-hmm. No matter what you do to break your back. And I've became a person where it's like, yo, if you're not happy, go fuck yourself. Like, I'm trying to do everything I can. And at the end of the day, like, I know I'm not going to make you happy and I'm not going to do everything I can and bend over backwards. You're going to break my back because no matter what the fuck I do, you're still going to be an asshole when it's all done.
Yeah. And I don't think
I
it's
guess
true.
The moral of the story is if you don't like it, fuck you.
Exactly.
Well, that's the thing. I'll politely tell people to fuck themselves. I'm not going to look at someone and say, go fuck yourself.
Tactfully.
I'm more so like, listen, we're just not a good fit.
Yeah.
But I wish you the best. And if there's anything you need in the future, let me know.
Yeah, I mean, they always say you either, as a leader, you could get loved or feared, right? I am a firm believer that it doesn't have to be either of those. You have to be respected, though, right? However you obtain that. And that's the hardest thing. But yeah.
Some clients just won't respect you, though. They're like,
That's
because
right.
they feel like I'm paying you. You do what I tell you to do. Their expectations are wild.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's okay
right?
to be combative, but in a respectful way, in a tactful way.
Yeah,
I think that's
absolutely.
okay.
You, by being able to say, hey, let's not do business. For me, it's like I'm in the middle of business. I'm in the middle of a big job. I'm at the end of a big job. And now it's like, all right, now I'm an asshole. You know what I mean? And you're going to do everything you can not to pay me. It just made it so sickening and so aggravating that, like, I know that my time spent where I'm going or the direction I'm going is going to be so much more. It's what I want to do. It's my passion. You know, this was my passion for 25 years, but things kill your passion, and it's not you. It's always outside sources that come in and make changes.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I've absolutely been there. I mean, I had someone who came to me recently that said they had a client that they've been working with, and you know, this is a big client for them. They have to make it work. Like and we were producing video content in partner with this person for the client. And the concern was that the client wasn't going to like it because this is the way they are and they don't understand social media and they don't understand video content. So like, we have to do this way. And my response is, well, listen, we can make the video this way and this way and that way and whatever else you want, but it's going to perform less on social media, right? We're the experts, we're the professionals. We know what's going to work and what's not going to work on social media. And doing this is going to hurt the video. But if you want me to do it, I absolutely will. But I also wanted to get the time too to then, instead of just, you know, I answered the client's questions. I told them how we would create a solution by getting the video edited the way they need it to be done. But then I also asked them, because I want to understand at a deeper level, like, what are you afraid of with this client? You know, I'm afraid of them. And the answer was, I'm afraid of losing them. Why? Well, because, you know, they're a big client for me and I have a good relationship with them and they make us money. And my response was like, well, listen, if you're afraid of losing this client because you know they're not going to like, you know, if it's done this way or that way, then they just don't get what we're doing in the first place, right? They need to be able to know that you're the professional who is giving them the advice on how this gets done, and we're the professionals giving them advice on how this gets done properly so they get the best results. And if they can't trust that process, well, then maybe you should not work with them. And the answer from that was, well, listen, I get that and I agree, but we need to keep this account. And when we get future clients, we can then have enough money coming in from them where we'll be able to get rid of this client.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, so you think that because you get money from other people that we can just drop this person? And they were like, yeah. And I said, it's never going to happen because I've been there. I've gotten clients who paid more money, that required less time, less work, less effort, and were less headaches than a client that I've had for a while who I wanted to keep a good relationship with, who paid less and was more of a headache. Why didn't I drop the other client? Because at the end of the day, especially when you're counting dollars and trying to grow a business, you're never gonna just get rid of money that you're leaving on the table that you know you can keep collecting, even if it's a headache. And a lot of people sometimes struggle with being like, you know, oh, this client's paying me $2,000 and they're a headache. And I have 4 other clients paying me $4,000 and they're not a headache, but I'm not going to get rid of the $2,000 client. It's, you know, I'll get through it. It is what it is. It's revenue coming in. Why lose it? Right?
Sometimes people cost you more than they're worth, man.
Yeah, that's the thing, identifying when it's time to cut it loose. And
I agree.
It does take time. You have to get to a scale where you're comfortable, and it does take a while.
Yeah.
And you and I have discussed this before, but you know, speaking of customers, what is your customer avatar, you know, your ideal customer, and how do you identify them?
I would say, I mean, it varies, right? We worked in a lot of different industries. I would say in a lot of ways I'm a chameleon. It's only something I've embraced more now than anything else. Is I don't think that I'm the best videographer out there, but I've been told now by multiple people who have been doing cinematography, photography now for 10 plus years and have worked with large corporate companies doing it, that like I'm efficient, effective, and I get things done like at a rapid pace, and I get it done really well at a rapid pace. And it's something that I never thought of. I always thought, especially as I was hiring employees, that like they should be able to edit as quick as I do. They should be able to film things as quick as I do and pick up on it, especially if they have tons more experience than I do. And the funny thing is that even though I don't have as much experience, I'm so efficient and effective, and I almost have this idea that, you know, anybody I hire should be able to be the same way, and I realize they're not. I realize no one is like me, and that's something that maybe is a little hard to accept at times, right? You think that people that you want to hire that are better than you can do the job better, and sometimes they always can't. and you need to, give them some guidance and some training.
How do you pick your customers?
We work with anything from restaurants to real estate to construction to, med spas, anything in between, right? So I've niched down, I would say, in a big part in the hospitality industry, in the restaurant industry especially. So picking customers really comes down to, one, I say this all the time, I can't polish a piece of shit. So I don't want to work with a client, or especially a restaurant, that has bad quality food, provides bad service, and no one wants to go there, and they get bad reviews online. And I don't say that because you're a bad person, I don't want to do any business with you. It's more so there's not a lot of value I can provide them, because if I'm advertising, I'm marketing for your business, I'm trying to promote it. And at the end of the day, I might get you a bunch of customers in the door, but that doesn't mean they're going to stay, or they're going to keep you, and you're not going to see any growth because you already have a bad quality product. So I first and foremost, I stand behind finding a quality product or service or business that I know that I can scale and help grow, because what they're already providing, they just need to get the word out more for. And then outside of that, as we've grown and I've seen the possibilities of what this industry provides, I'm a little pickier on the type of businesses, because they have to be able to afford it. But I'm a little more selective with the business that I bring in, because I know our time is worth something. And if we're going to get booked for, in the beginning, I used to maybe get booked for 10 $500 jobs. I'd rather take one $5,000 job, and know that the work can get done in less time with less headaches and less client expectations to manage. I can focus on managing the expectations of one client versus 10 who want to pay less. And what you also learn is that, and I'm sure you guys experience this too, is it's always the clients who pay the least amount that have the most feedback, and they're the most difficult. The clients that truly trust you and want to see their business grow, and that truly want to see the most success, allow you to do what you do, because they believe you're the professionals and they know the value you provide. And so they say, here's what we want to do. Here's our money. We trust you to do it. If you fuck up, we're going to tell you, but they don't try to micromanage.
Oh, so like when I text you and I say, whatever, bro, I don't care, it's up to you.
I love it.
So I think
gotta start micromanaging some more.
Whipping on Anthony's question, like, why did you pick to work with us?
I appreciated the genuine conversation of like, hey, listen, we don't know anything about this and we want your help, and that is it. It's that, like, we trust you to do it, right? I'm also big on people providing value, and the value you guys provided was, hey, listen, we would love to get you part of the podcast and give you some promotion along the way, and we'll pay you for your work, obviously, but I also know that you guys are in front of a lot of business owners and other people that I can meet, so that's helpful, right? And then also too, like I said, I think the openness to allow me to have my creative art and freedom without the pickiness, and with the trust that we can do what we do to the best of our ability is what I really look for. And I resonate with people that are, that lead with that. Hey, we don't know much about this. We're trying to get some help. What do you think? When I get asked that, it's a lot easier than someone saying, I need this, 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 and this, and I need you to do it this way, and I'm only willing to pay this price. My response is, well, why do you want to do it all those ways? Because maybe I know something they don't, which is maybe the 4 or 5 ways they want to do it don't work. And I've experienced that before. So when customers come into a situation a little more curious or looking for guidance, I think naturally, anybody's more receptive to that. I know I am, because I'm a very curious, like, open person. And then outside of that, on a personal level, just your energy. Like, I think you guys have an entrepreneurial mindset, which I'm big on. I like to surround myself with those type of people, and people that bring value to me, that I can bring value to as well. And in a lot of ways, you guys are also just no bullshit. I mean, Dan especially, I didn't get it from you originally, but I learned it over time. Like, Dan especially is like, no bullshit. Like, hey, you're either going to help or, whatever, you don't have to. Right. And I like that, because to me, I'd rather someone do that than pretend, there's something else that they're not.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Dan's a knock down the door kind of
Straight
guy,
shooter.
where I'm sneak in, then I'll expose myself.
Good cop, bad cop, bro.
Expose yourself. Do what you got to do.
So,
Team Intrepidus.
yeah, we appreciate you, and I think we used you and tested you a lot in the beginning, especially when we did those first couple shoots, just to see what you were all about. We wanted to get to know you on a personal level. That's why we did like a personal day, just to see who you are, because so many people are so full of shit. We tried launching this thing, a year ago, and it just didn't go the way that we thought it would go, and everyone's in for it, and it just personalities change, and instead of like being upset with people and getting into fights, it's like, you know what, let's just take a step back in and let's figure out what we're doing, and let's get the right people in place. And not saying we had the wrong people in place, but if you if you don't have the same vision and you're not going after the same things, you're always going to bump heads.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, it's like, listen, I suck at video editing. Like, Ant's like, yeah, we could probably do it. I'm like, fuck that shit, bro. Like, you know what I mean? We ain't got time for that, you know? And I'm trying to make my own videos, start my own podcast. And, you know, I load these things up and I get all fucking pissed off and freaking out. Like, I can't do this shit. And you know what? People are engaging, but it's cool. But for this professional side of what we're trying to do, I know that we need a whole different avenue. I'll figure my shit out later, you know? And what's more important for me is to get my coaching out there, people to get my message. And if they know I suck at making videos and all that, but I'm good at delivering information, that's all I really care about right now. But we knew that when we put this together, we weren't going to cut any corners. We weren't going to do anything. And that's why we interviewed people. And we saw, like, you know, everything takes time, everything takes money, but at the same time, you need people who are with your vision. We're all going the same direction. And that was the most important. So even if we didn't like a personality trait about you, which we like everything about you. Maybe
Sure.
not, maybe
Almost.
not, maybe not.
Positive?
Almost
I mean, there's
everything.
got to be something.
Maybe not your pants. But,
Okay, well, that's fine. Well, should I take them off?
No,
That'll be a fun podcast.
that's a different podcast, not us.
That's in the corner over there.
So even if there was a personality trait we didn't like about you, taking in our vision and also giving us your input, because there's obviously things that we think but we don't know, but you know, and we kind of all work together. And we spent the last year like really like climbing heads, bumping heads, going things together. And I just really think that it pans out well. So it's important to be able to work with the right people, do the right things, and focus on the right things. And I think that I got you from a trusted source. You know, Sal referred you to me, and he's like, dude, check this dude out. You know what I mean? And that was fine. And I went a couple different avenues, and I told him the same thing. I go, listen, let's just not catch the first guy. Let's try 2 or 3 guys, see what we like. But coming off a referral, and Sal's not someone who's going to fuck around, you know?
Yeah.
He's someone who knows what he's doing, and he was on our podcast in the beginning, and, you know, he really helped navigate us to you. So that trust factor is huge. And I think that's where your business falls in, is that you get so much trust from other people and people refer you, but at the same time, you're a likable dude.
Oh, thanks.
But you are no bullshit. Believe it or not, you're no bullshit. Like we had the wrong fucking cord here. You're flipping out. You know what I mean? But that you know what you want, you know what you put out direction, and you come in here expecting the way things are, and that's a great trait.
It goes into exactly what I was saying before about, like, I'll tell a client I can't work with you. It's the same thing. Like, I know at the end of the day, my honesty and my word is what's going to make or break any relationship. I would rather be completely blunt and transparent with a client about what I can or can't do, or what we should or shouldn't do, rather than give them the bullshit answer because it smooths out things for now or makes me some more money. Because at the end, I'm in it for long-term relationships, not the transaction. So going that route makes everything easier. And that's how I build those relationships, is because I'm transparent and I'm upfront, rather than trying to save my ass.
Yeah, I think for me, it was, you do that, right? You are pretty upfront, you're blunt, but you're tactful about it. And that was the biggest thing for me, was the simple fact that, hey, we would throw suggestions at you and you would say, well, that's a good idea, but have you ever thought about this? And it's just your approach to things. It wasn't my way or the highway, which both of our personalities don't respond well to that, especially me.
Yeah.
So your tact is really what sold us, and your ability to be flexible and say, you know, I do like that idea. Actually, I'd never thought about that. Or, you know, I have a better way to do it.
Hey guys, quick interruption to the show. Please don't forget to follow us and like us.
You can find us on Spotify and YouTube. Hit that like button. We appreciate the algorithm. Thanks, guys.
Love you guys. You're in a relationship, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
A little over a year.
Yeah.
All right. So I know getting into business and creating and keeping relationships is quite tough, especially in the beginning time, the early times where you're just starting to get your stride. How do you manage those two things currently?
Well, I think in the beginning, for me, it took me a little bit to get used to. I didn't have really many healthy relationships prior to the one I'm in, and I think a big part of that is realizing that in relationships you don't want to lose yourself, right? So you have to be yourself and be able to dedicate the things to your life that you did prior to the relationship, and then find a way to make that relationship fit your life. And also you're going to have to give a little bit, right? You're going to have to give a little more than maybe you want to at times. So I think the balance comes from ensuring that I get done all of my responsibilities. And also you need a supportive partner who wants to see you, work on the things in your business and your drive and
succeed.
Yeah, you need someone who's supportive of that, right? So that's a big part. Someone who's supportive of what it is that you're doing and what you're actively working towards, knowing that it's not only just something you're working towards for you, but if you have a partner who you want to spend the rest of your life with, right, they need to know that you're working towards it for them, right? So support's a big part. And then finding the way to balance knowing that I have to get my shit done and also contribute the amount that makes me feel fulfilled and also that is necessary to sustain a healthy relationship. Because, like anything, a relationship takes work and time and you have to feed it and you have to love it and you have to, show up. So if you don't, that's when things fail.
So you being 26, you have your shit together.
I like to think so.
Looks like it. Not many 26-year-olds have their shit together. I'd say a good percentage of them are just coming out of college for a couple of years, trying to figure out what they're doing, sleeping on their mom's couch, and really aspiring to do nothing for a little bit. But there are people out there who are driven, want to do things, want to become business owners. And what kind of advice would you give to somebody who wanted to go in business for themselves, and what should they expect, and what kind of fears are they going to have to overcome, and what can you do to help that next guy who's maybe watching you, Tyler, and saying, "Oh man, that guy's my role model, but I don't know how to do what he's doing."
Especially if you're young, cut out distractions and don't be afraid of being the odd person out. Too many people in this generation, just they want to be liked and they fear being the odd person out, being the black sheep, being the one that's you're not cool, right? For doing something. A friend of mine who's a young entrepreneur like me that I look up to, that I surround myself with because they have a very similar mindset to me, says alcohol is the only bad or the only drug, I guess you could say, that you get judged for not partaking in. People peer pressure into doing certain things. I've never really been bothered by that. And maybe that's just me. I don't care if people think poorly of me or think I'm a party pooper or whatever. I can have a great time going out with my friends if I want to at a party and I don't have to drink anything. In fact, I do very, very little. I think I've just seen, people make stupid decisions while doing that stuff or not be themselves or one thing or the other. And the biggest thing is just, like I said, being an entrepreneur, and regardless of being an entrepreneur, someone who wants to make something for themselves and do something different and stand out. It's kind of a Tony Robbins quote, and some other people have said it before too, but like, if you want to achieve what 99% of people don't achieve, you have to be willing to do what 99% of people aren't willing to do.
Yeah.
And that means being disciplined, and that means doing things that you might get judged for. And truthfully, this path and this entrepreneurial journey, or just this self-development journey, this path of wanting to grow and be different and achieve more than other people, it's lonely, right? You have to be. There was times where I spent nights, weekends working, and no one else was there to understand or get it, and I have to be willing to realize that I'm making a sacrifice or really working towards something that's going to better my future. And a lot of people don't see that. They want instant gratification. You live in a world where everything's instant gratification. And listen, I fall in the trap sometimes too, and I got to get out of my own head, and that takes work and time. But it's about doing things when you don't want to do them, and also reminding yourself every day and asking yourself every day, is this thing that I'm doing today helping me be a better person or achieve the life I want? And if it's not helping me achieve the life I want, every once in a while you can partake in doing maybe a thing or two that doesn't. I'm victim, or I wouldn't say victim. I have at times gone out to a party or to the club when maybe it wasn't something I should have been doing that night. But I do it so rarely and so minimally where I don't feel like I'm missing out per se, because I have friends and people that are still part of that. But I also know, like, there are times where I'm like, I can't. I don't want it tonight. I shouldn't. There's other things that I'd rather focus on. So I try to ask myself on a day-to-day basis, is this particular thing that I'm doing, thinking about doing, or being asked to do benefiting me in any way, shape, or form towards the goals and things that I want to achieve? Because I don't want to be looking back 3, 4, 5 years from now wondering if I should have done something else.
No, I think you're right. Friday night, you text late and you're like, "Oh, guys, sorry, it's a late text." And so I'm still working. I'm like, "Bro, it's all good." You're like, you got to do what you got to do. But I think when you look at the top tier of entrepreneurs in the world, you know, they're more focused on a healthy body. They're more focused on, you know, associating themselves with the right people. They're not out there getting drunk and doing stupid shit, you know. So you have the right mindset for it. You're going in the right direction. It's not terrible to go out there and have a drink once in a while, but
yeah, and I don't fault anybody for that either, right? Like we talked about it kind of earlier pre-podcast. Like if those are the things that people are doing, that's what they've been taught. Like that's what it is that is the normal for everybody my age. So I can't be a person to judge and say like you're out partying, drinking, you're a terrible person. You're not. That's just that is the normal. That is what most people do, and so there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not the path that I've led because I feel like I have a higher purpose.
Respect.
Yeah, they say that 98% of the people are employed by the 2% that didn't give up, right? And it seems like not only did you not give up, but you put your priorities straight rather early. So it's very admirable for sure. But love having you on the pod today.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you guys.
Pleasure having you in front of the camera once again instead of behind it. We'd love to get it together again soon to see how your journey has evolved. And just tell everybody where they could find you if they're looking for anything media related.
Absolutely. Even just advice. Give me a call anytime.
Free
Happy
advice.
to help. MediaScher on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on everywhere. MEDIASCHER, and then www.mediascher.com. And you can reach me personally on same thing, just Tyler Scher on Instagram and everywhere else.
Awesome. Well, guys, make sure you're following us on Spotify and on YouTube. Helps our algorithm. We appreciate you guys all watching. And Tyler, it was an awesome episode having you on.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.